Just over a month ago, Donald Trump said that he was sick of how Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has handled the war with Russia and falsely accused him of being a dictator. Well, Thursday morning, Trump's tone took a 180-degree turn during a call with NBC's Kristen Welker. Trump said he is now very angry and pissed off at none other than Russian President Vladimir Putin over his recent criticism of Zelensky's leadership. The president added that if he ends up deciding that Russia is at fault for failing to reach a ceasefire deal with Ukraine, he will impose secondary tariffs on all Russian oil. Ukraine and Russia had reached a partial ceasefire earlier this month that was quickly broken by Russia. But Trump's threats didn't stop there. In the same call, he also said that he'd impose secondary tariffs on Iran and bomb the country if it didn't make a deal with the U.S. on its nuclear program. Quote, if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing. It will be bombing the likes of which they have never seen before. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Becca Balint of Vermont. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. Your reactions to what we saw, lots to respond there in Trump's comments, but let's start with this threat to bomb Iran like they've never seen if they don't reach a deal ensuring they won't develop a nuclear weapon. Iran, we have learned this evening, has responded, saying that if that happened, U.S. bases are not safe from an all-out war.
So look, this is all performative posturing to distract from the fact that we had a massive security breach earlier this week. And I sit here, I watch the replay. We know that Iran and China and Russia have had access to secret and supposedly secure data because we have members of the cabinet who are so reckless and careless with that information and spreading information over Signal. And so whenever he knows that his team has screwed up, he creates a performative, blow up essentially now at Iran or at Russia. But it's all about distraction because Trump is failing right now on the national stage. His tariffs are going down the wrong way economically. He is making us a pariah around the world. Who would share intelligence data with us after what we saw last week with what happened with Pete Hegseth? So I don't take this seriously in terms of his saber rattling at Iran or Russia. I see it as a way to get him out of the hot water that he's in right now. And
then, of course, there's this Trump, abrupt shift that he's repeatedly undermined and criticized Zelensky on one hand. Now the president says he's very angry with Vladimir Putin after he called for a temporary external government to be installed in Ukraine. What do you make of Trump's sudden turn on Vladimir Putin? Because even if you were to believe that Donald Trump is now pissed off with Vladimir Putin, it shows that up until this moment, he was incompetent or did not heed the warnings of everybody who was telling him, look, Vladimir Putin is a bad guy, duplicitous, he will probably try to play you. And if he did believe them and suddenly realizes that he's a bad guy, then it shows that he's incompetent.
Yes. I believe he's both. I believe he's being played. He has been played. I think he's owned by Putin and the Kremlin. And I think he has also shown his incompetence when it comes to dealing with Russia and China and Iran. He has not made us more safe. In fact, he has made us less safe. And we have so many examples of that all wrapped up in that horrible breach that we had last week, and he's not taking it seriously. Pete Hegseth should be on leave right now while we investigate what has happened. We should not be asking Elon Musk to investigate how a reporter got on a Signal thread. Every 12-year-old knows how people get invited on to a chat thread. This is absurd.
What is your message to the president right now? I mean, as he's making these threats to U.S. adversaries, suggesting he might impose secondary tariffs on Russia if he feels like Putin is at fault, or bomb Iran. This was a guy who campaigned on being anti-war to some extent, right? He said he was going to end wars and not start new ones, specifically in the Middle East. And yet here we are, less than 100 days into his administration. He's bombed the hell out of Yemen. He's expanded the war in Gaza. We're seeing dramatic escalation in the West Bank. He's now threatening to bomb Yemen. And this just shows that he was never sincere or genuine about being an anti-war or end-a-war president.
That's right. And don't forget, he has threatened to take over Greenland.
Correct, yeah.
With military might if necessary.
Bomb Mexico or bomb the cartels in Mexico. Yep. Take over the
That's
Panama
exactly
Canal.
right.
Yeah.
You got it. And so here's what I see. I see a man whose numbers are tanking on the economy. I see someone who is feeling like he is coming across as weak and impotent, frankly. And this is a way for him to once again try to flex his muscles as the tough guy. It is so transparent. We have seen this game over and over again. And it's just textbook authoritarianism. Make yourself look tougher by rattling, the sabers and making threats. And hopefully nobody will understand or see through it that you are, in fact, feeling quite weak about the position that you're in.
Speaking of authoritarianism, we got a glimpse of his ambitions today. He floated this suggestion that he could possibly, and he would not rule out the possibility of running for a third term. And I use the word running here because it's not clear how he would stay in power. He said that his, quote, focused on the current term. But I'm not joking about this, that he was pretty serious. And he even kind of suggested that the way he can kind of get around it, because he knows that there's no way to do it through a constitutional amendment through Congress or 3/4 of the states or through a constitutional convention. He knows the only way to do it is by misinterpreting the Constitution. And he thinks that he can get J.D. Vance perhaps to run as the president with him on the vice presidential ticket and then just swap roles after they win if they were to win. What do you make of this? How serious of a threat is this?
Well, we should take this very seriously because I believe he is planting the seeds for another stop the steal all over again, right? This is the next big lie, telling people that there is some kind of legal maneuver that he can pull to, in fact, serve another term as president. That is, in fact, as you just said, it is against the Constitution. And actually, it's against what we stand for as Americans. This is one of the least patriotic things I have heard this man say, and he said a lot. So the fact that he is planting the seed among his supporters is to, once again, fire up not just the base, but all those January 6th insurrectionists that he let out, his brown shirt army that's out there. It is riling them up to believe, in fact, there is a way for him to do this, and that we, as members of Congress, we as the American people are keeping him from something that is rightfully his. It is very dangerous.